Hello, hello, and welcome to Bla Bla Black Sheep, a weekly Yarny podcast where I, Sarah Korth of SEK Handmade, answer your Yarny questions. Friends, welcome. I am so glad you are here. Happy December. Goodness sakes, this year has flown by. Thanks for joining me this week and any other week you've joined me. If you have not been hanging around here for long, this is episode 36, so we got a lot more to go back to if you need like something to watch while you're wrapping gifts or baking cookies or whatever. I would be honored to be a part of those activities with you. Today, I'm going to be wearing my Braids and Bobbles Shawlette. I love this one. It is very long and very skinny, and it's made with some real gorgeous yarn. I made this. This is my second sample. It's just mine. I just wear it. It's my second one that I made, and I picked out a yarn, and I was working. I didn't gauge swatch. I just started making it and I was like, no, that's not working. It's a little too thin. So I compared it to the stats of the yarn that I had originally used, and I was right. It was much finer, a much finer yarn than what I had originally used. And while I babble on about this, I'm going to show you this gorgeousness. And so it was too open and holy, and I was making this like in wintertime, and I wanted to be warm and cozy. So I grabbed another color of yarn, another skein that I'd been wanting to use, and I was like, hold them together. And look at that, you guys. It just turned out so beautifully. I am in love. The multicolor that you're seeing in there is by Mitchell's Fiber Arts Creations. And the purple that you're seeing in there is by Crochet. And that was gifted to me by my wonderful friend, Michelle of Tales of Knots. And so extra special meaning in this one because I think of Michelle every time I wrap up in it. So super long shawlette. What do you do with it? I think today what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to wrap it around my neck. It is nice and long, so there's plenty to do this with. And then I'm just going to open up. This is so simple, and feed it through. And then this one is nice and sturdy. So it is actually going to just lay real flat. And then that, where it lays flat, really shows off the little bobblies there, which I love. And then it's chilly outside because it's winter in Wisconsin, but I'm feeling hot. I've been running around this morning, so I don't want it too tight around my neck. I do have, right after I finished it last winter, I did a video of it where I show you how I like wrap it really tight and cozy. It's so wonderful. But frankly, I'm too hot for that today, so you'll have to go back and catch that one. You'll see in the cover picture that I'm wearing this shawl. It's pretty evident. But you can go watch the beginning of that one, or the whole thing, and see how I wrapped up in a different way. So, my friends, what is bringing me joy? It is Christmas lights. It gets dark so early here in Wisconsin because we're so far north. But the one benefit of that is that everybody's Christmas lights come on before you go to bed. And it's just gorgeous. It is gorgeous to even like peek out my window and look out at the neighborhood and see all the pretty lights. It's fun to like drive through certain neighborhoods and see all the lights that they have up. It just brings me joy. I love to sit in my own living room with just the Christmas lights on and like a cup of hot cocoa or coffee, depending on what time of day it is. Sometimes I'll get up really early before everybody else gets up, and I'll just cozy up in the chair by the Christmas tree and just sit there and like breathe deeply. I love it. All right, let's talk small businesses. I am drinking from my Cheeky Ceramics mug with my sheep on it and the teal. You know I love this. And my lipstick mark. That doesn't come with the mug. You have to make your own. Love this mug. Love Rin, the ceramicist who makes the mug. They are just the sweetest person. And so, highly recommend. I thought I had just been sharing earrings, and I mean, other than in my gift guide where I shared a whole bunch of small businesses, mostly earrings and the coffee mugs. And so I thought I'm going to pull some yarn out of my stash that I haven't shared with you guys yet. And it's actually yarn that I purchased a long time ago when this friend of mine just started dyeing yarn. But the reason it's top of mind is because I don't think I've shared yet. I am designing an Advent shawl. So a shawl specifically designed to work with 24 mini skeins and a full skein, like what you would get in an Advent kit. But I also realized that not everybody buys Advent kits. So I wanted to also make a sample in just 2 colors of yarn so that you could see that, like, yes, it's specifically designed for Advent, but it doesn't have to be Advent. And when I dove into my stash to look for yarns, this is what I came up with. Aren't they beautiful? So this one's just like a tonal teal. That's really beautiful, you know, obviously. It's my color. And this is from East Coast Yarn Co. I have a Meet the Maker with Kristen from East Coast Yarn Co. That I'll put down in the show notes. You know, click the more, and then I link to all the things so you don't have to go hunt them down. She's a lovely person, and Meet the Makers are another great thing to watch while you're wrapping presents. Just saying. And then I got this one actually from a separate drop, but I was pretty confident that since it was the same dyer that they would go together, and they do. So I don't know. I bought these a while ago, so I don't know if she'll have these exact colors in her shop, but she has lots of really gorgeous colors. This one is called Shake Your Teal Feathers, and this one's called Into the Pines. And they're soft and lovely to work with, and I can't wait to share my Advent shawl with you at some point. I was like, oh, I could give you a sneak peek, and then I was like, oh no, it's in like a completely different part of the house. I'm not leaving you for that long to go get it. So some yarn, and then you guys, you know I have to share earrings with you, and I am so pleased with these. I saw these and I was like, yes, please. They are Christmas trees, and they're acrylic, and they are sparkly glitter goodness, and I love them. They are, for me, on the heavier side for an earring, so I don't know if I could wear them all day, but they're definitely like throw on for a party, special occasion kind of situation. And they just make me happy. I hope, it's a pretty cloudy day out, so I don't think I'll like pow you with with light shining off of them, but I could see it happening at some point. So and those are by, I should say, Monta de Vida. No, oh, you guys, Momenti di Vida. It seems maybe Italian to me. I was a voice major in college, and so at one point I could sing a lot of languages. Did I understand them? No. Or did my voice teacher make me do some translating? Yes, but did that translate to me actually learning the languages? No. Something about life. Maybe it means the sparkly life. Lots of sparkly earrings. Okay. And so I highly recommend their earrings. These, remember several episodes back after I did my first gift guide and I was like, I need more holiday earrings. And I went shopping. This was one of the shoppings that I did. These took by far the longest to get to me. So if you want a pair, get on it. Maybe even get a pair now and save them for next year. And then you'll be ready to go. I don't know. I ordered them at the beginning of November. And it took a good 3 weeks for them to get to me. And I assume they're getting busier towards the holidays, not less busy. So there you go. But I do love them. I do recommend them. They have lots of cute earrings. Oh, part of what I was going to say was I bought 3 pair. So you'll be seeing more fun, sparkly earrings from them. I'm trying to think if they had anything that was not sparkly. I think the answer is no. Everything was like iridescent shimmer or sparkly or, you know, it's kind of their thing. So, but lots of fun stuff. Christmas lights and toy soldiers and I'm trying to think what else they had. Snowflakes. So lots of fun stuff. I got another pair of kind of like wintry earrings and then another pair of just like fun sparkle earrings. So keep an eye out for those. They're coming. All right, announcements. Speaking of Advent, I purchased, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, and I don't know why. I purchased 3 Advent kits this year. There, it's out. I said it. 2 yarn kits and the twice sheared sheep, which is like notions stuff. I got the twice sheared sheep yarn, quarterly yarn box this year, and in that came a discount for the Christmas, so I said, why not? So that's why I got that one. And then, as I said before, I wanted to design, I wanted to design, and I want to continue to design crochet patterns that you can use your Advent kits with. There are a lot of knitting patterns to use Advent kits for, but not a lot of crochet patterns. So this year's, I kind of like cobbled together, and it's not an Advent kit. I'm not going to go deep into it. I gathered up minis. Some of it was stuff I already had. Some of it was stuff I bought. And then I started looking at like, okay, what's most cost effective if I want to continue to design Advent patterns? Is it smarter to buy an Advent box, or is it smarter to make an Advent box myself? And it is 100% more cost effective to purchase an Advent box, which makes me a little nervous because then you don't know for sure what you're getting. But I got from a couple dyers, and I'm so far obsessed. And I just wanted to let you know, I'm not going to share them here every week, because I am already sharing them in lots of places, including on YouTube, but not in Bla Bla Black Sheep. So place it, if you want to see all my Advent openings, I've recorded and will continue to record every day. So you can get my genuine reaction for all 3 boxes and see what's inside, which is a lot of fun. I'm doing 2 things. I'm posting a video every day on YouTube. Let's start here where we're at. On YouTube, they are shorts. And so last year I think I made a playlist. I think I'm going to go do that after this. I'll make a playlist, and so if you go to my channel and you go to playlists, I'll title it like Advent 2023 or something like that. And then you can watch through and catch up, or come back every day and see what's new. I'm also posting them to Reels on YouTube, Instagram and Facebook. And so you can go look there. I'm going to highlight them on my Instagram because I can do that. And so then they'll all be gathered in one of those little circles at the top of my profile for you to go back and look at. And then once a week, I'm going to make a post on all of them. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, with a week's worth or a week's-ish. Of course, it doesn't fall like Sunday to Sunday because it's all by dates of December, like the 1st and the 2nd and the 3rd. So there you go. That's where you can go check it out if you want to. So there'll be weekly posts, and then there'll be daily shorts and stories and whatnot, depending on the platform. So there you go. That's my announcement. Okay. Let's talk questions. All right. So I am just realizing, normally what I do is I pick the questions, I think about them in my brain, and I write down some notes so I don't forget to say what I want to say. I picked my questions, I thought about them in my brain. I did not write down notes, so hopefully this won't be too chaotic. And if it is, I pre-apologize. So, question number 1. What lighting do you use for taking photos? Where do you get your backgrounds from? Do you edit your photos? How do you keep shadows from your photos? So many good questions here. Okay, so we're getting back to some photography stuff a little bit here. And one of the reasons I wanted to get back to that is because I was listening to someone else, another crochet business person, talk about taking photography. That's not how the words work. Talk about taking pictures of your finished makes. And they gave some advice, and I was like, I don't agree with any of that. So I feel like there is first of all, let me say, part of the reason I think I don't agree with this person is because this person admittedly is not great at taking pictures themselves. They often hire out their photography, which is 100% fine. If you are a professional business person who can afford to hand off photography to somebody else because A, you don't have time, B, you don't like photography, C, you aren't very good at it. If you have the funds to hand it off to somebody else, that's cool. But you and me, person who's listening to me right now, we probably I don't have the funds for that. And B, if you're if you are a hobbyist, you're not making money off your craft. And so you can't afford to pay somebody $20+ an hour to take pictures of your finished makes. So I think that this part of the reason why I disagree with what the advice this person gave is because they weren't speaking from experience. They were speaking from the prevailing wisdom. And I don't agree with a lot of the prevailing wisdom, because why would I do what other people tell me to when I can work real hard to make up something completely different? So I want to expel some of these myths that I have heard that I just plumb don't agree with. So here you go. Let's talk, what did you ask me first? Taking lighting. What lighting do I use for my pictures? None. 0. So this is something that I really strongly disagree with the prevailing wisdom here. And that is, you should take your pictures outside to get good light. No friends. It is real flippin' hard to get good light outside. And do you know why? Because you don't control the sun and you don't control the clouds. And if you're like me, when it's just the right time, you got to be making dinner and working on homework and taking the kids to swimming lessons. Like, you can't just stop the world. I'm not a professional photographer. I can't just stop the world and say, wait, mommy has to take pictures. I have to make do with what I have and do it when I can, which I'm guessing is your situation too. So, I don't agree that the easiest place to take pictures is outside. I, if you haven't noticed, I'm going to lean into 100% of my pictures inside because I live in a weathery place. I don't live in one of those like stable climates. We get all the weather here, and I'm not depending on the weather to take my pictures. We've swung wildly within 20 degrees some days, and so you just don't know. It's also been very windy here. I don't know if that's normal for my area because I didn't grow up here, but like I can't be out there as the wind is like in my face, and I'm like, my hair is like, yuck. But okay, I do want to give you a couple tips for if you want to take pictures outside, because I get that for a lot of people, they think that's the easiest lighting situation. So, A, you do not want to take pictures when it is sunny outside. People think sunny, happy, yay. The very best time to take pictures outside is when it's cloudy, because without that harsh light, you don't get harsh shadows. And then you got to be careful where you go, because unless you're being like real artistic, you might say, I'm going to stand under this tree so that it shadows me so that I don't have that harsh light. But then you've got like dappling on your face or on your project. You know what I mean by dappling? Like little bits of sunlight that come through. And those are incredibly distracting. Almost every time I take pictures outside, it's like, the light on my cheek or on my shoulder that's like brighter than everything else. And now where does my eye go? To my shoulder, the last place I want you to be looking. So, shadows, lack of sun is actually better. So, and I'm saying this, if you're a professional photographer, you know how to deal with outside stuff. I'm saying if you're a hobbyist and you're just going out to take pictures. So cloudy days are better than sunny days. Being in shadows rather than in bright direct sunlight is better. And Godspeed. I don't know. I think it's real hard. It's hard to find the right weather, the right day, all the things. So for me, for lighting, I take pictures inside. And do you know why people don't think they can take pictures inside? Because they think if they're going to take pictures inside, which this was another piece of advice that the person I was listening to gave that I disagree with. She said, if you're going to take pictures inside, you need a lighting setup. I use zero lights for my lighting setup. I am very blessed. So I love our house. I'm less obsessed with our neighborhood, but I really love our house. And I don't really want to move just because the light in our house is so good. Our house was built in the 60s, back in a time when they believed that every room should have many windows. And I love that. So what I do might be a little harder if you're in a new build, because new builds tend to be like, they tend to be like real close to each other. And so the sides of the house that you're like almost nose to nose with your neighbor, they don't put any windows on because you don't want to see your neighbor brushing their teeth. But I digress. I do not have a light setup. I have purchased 2 light setups and hated both of them. I don't use them at all, and I have not for years. Every single picture, video that I took with my lighting setup, I hated them. I would spend hours trying to adjust them, and I would just end up mad. So I just don't use them anymore. I've learned to use the natural light that comes from my windows and make adjustments. So there you go. This is something that takes a little practice, though. You need to go around your house and you need to look for how and where the light comes in And then just practice taking some pictures there. It's taken me, I actually found my favorite spot. I think I'm going to take a picture of this. I'm not going to, I worry I'll make you seasick if I try to like turn my camera around and show you this now. But I'll take a picture. I'm pointing here because this is where I take a bunch of my pictures. I kind of by accident took some pictures here and fell in love with it. It is a corner of my office that meets this window. I was going to hang stuff on the walls and decided after taking some pictures there that that was just going to be my picture corner, and so I wasn't going to hang anything there. Weston's kennel sits there, so if you look real carefully in some of my pictures, you can see like in the bottom corner, like if I'm doing this, you can see like his kennel. I try to darken the background so it's not very obvious, but if you're looking for it, you can probably see it in a few of my pictures. And I found that spot. I've figured out how it works for me, and that's where I take a whole bunch of my pictures. If I need fuller body shots, that sounds weird. Pictures of more of my body. So like I have a shawl that I want to spread out, or I just want to show you like, this is what it looks like from a real full person, not just like up at my shoulders. There's a spot in my living room where it's in a corner and there are two windows. And what I do is I pull everything out of that corner, and that's where I stand. And I use the light from one of the two windows on either side to take my pictures. I could do a whole master class about how to take a picture in front of a window. But play with it and see what you like. I stand not so that the window, see this? Not so that the window is, I don't stand in front of the window. I stand at the threshold of the window, so where the window ends. Now I have the curtain pulled back, so it's not going to have the same effect here. But if you stand, or at least I have found and perfected the technique, that if I stand at the edge of the window, I get all the light and behind me doesn't. And that's how I get those darker backgrounds and more bright light focused on my face. And then you'll notice that a lot of times I have my face turned towards the window because that's where the light's coming from. When I turn I have another door coming from there and the sun is starting to shine in there. So it's casting sun on my face this way. See, I have a shadow. But when there's no light coming from that direction and I turn this direction, then this whole part of my face gets shadowed, which can create a dramatic, cool effect. Especially like if I'm trying to like show an earring, then my face is dark and the earring is the focus. But yada, yada, yada. So zero lighting, that's the lighting I use. Where do I get my backgrounds from? So when I first started, I thought I needed a fancy camera background. I told you before my dad was a photographer. Never mind. You don't care. You don't need the whole history of my dad's photography experience. And I don't know why, he never used backgrounds with us, but I felt like to be professional, I needed a big, okay, the other thing is, when I first started selling, the big thing on Etsy was all of your backgrounds have to be white. And I was like, how do I get a white background behind me when I'm a big grown-up sized person? I'm not like a little plushie that you sit in a little white box. I'm like a whole person. How do I get white behind me when I have no white in my house and no uncluttered places in my house? And so what I did is I bought a backdrop rigging, which is essentially like 2 tripod stands and a big thingamadoo. I can't think of it. It's like a bar. And then I started looking at buying backdrops, and I was like, Holy guacamole, those are expensive. And so what I did was I went to Target and I bought I was going to say placemat. That's not it. Tablecloth. Just a white tablecloth. I recommend tablecloth because they are thicker than a sheet. And I would fold it up and hang it in my closet. I still have it hanging in my closet. I actually have 2 of them. And then I would pull it out, I would hang it up, I would steam it every time. And so any pictures of you see of me, that you see of me on a fully white backdrop, especially from several years ago, that was me with my backdrop set up. And what I would do is I would set it up opposite a window. So I would set it up over here, and the window is here, and I would stand in front of it and take my pictures like that. The reason I stopped doing that was, I have a different house now than I had when I first did that setup, and I have a blind dog. And so it's harder for me to set that up and not have Weston run into it. And it's just like, you can't just throw it up and snap real quick. Like, it takes a lot of time and effort. And so I just gravitated towards what was easier for me, which I would assume that if you are a hobbyist, you also want to do what's easy for you. And even if you're not a hobbyist, you're going to find yourself avoiding taking pictures if it's not easy. I take all of my flat lays on my blue table, which I'm pointing to because it's right over there. I'm getting a lot of shadow. Okay, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to close this door because holy cow, it is really shining. And then I'm going to grab something that I'm going to use to tell you about your other question that I forgot to grab. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so keep it simple. A lot of people who don't have a blue table, like, most people do. Kidding, nobody has a blue table. I'm weird. I know of a friend who has boards that she just stained, and she stained them like a dark stain on one side and a light stain on the other side. And so she just lays them on a table and either lays them all light side up or lays them all dark side up. And then it looks like she has this nice wood paneling backdrop, and she got 2 backdrops in one. It just took a little work. There are actual backdrops that you can purchase. I'll grab a couple from Etsy and throw them in the description box, in the show notes, so that you can go look at what they have. But I don't think you need that. Again, a tablecloth gives you a white background. A blanket can give you a really nice background. Go to TJ Maxx and buy a floofy but inexpensive blanket. Wood paneling, you can go to the hardware store and buy some wood paneling. I'm thinking of something else. Oh, I went to a craft store. I'm not getting this out. I went to a craft store and they had sticky tiles. So you were supposed to put them on your wall. They're like faux backdrop or backsplashes. That's what I'm thinking. And I took a big display board, like what you'd use for the science fair, and I stuck those tiles on it. And then I have a fake bathroom kind of feel without actually having to go into my bathroom, which has terrible lighting. So those are some ideas for backdrops. You could get just tiles and either glue them to a piece of wood, or this would be kind of a pain, but if this is what you want to do, I guess, you could just take your flat surface and lay the tiles out on a table or a floor or whatever. And then for my flat lays too, all of the light is natural. I do not turn on, I have natural light bulbs in all of our lights, but I don't turn them on when I take pictures, no matter how cloudy it is. So set yourself up next to a window, let the natural light come in, and take your pictures from there. What was I trying to say? Who knows? Keep in mind, you can rotate pictures. Like once you take the picture, you can rotate it. So if you want a picture looking from the light coming this way, you can't stand here or you block the light. So take the picture either from the side or from behind and then just rotate the picture around. The tricky part to that is, though, that you have to get the angles right, because if you tip your camera the wrong direction, it's going to look like the picture is upside down or sideways, if that makes sense. So either keep your camera really level, and you can get these teeny little levels, or depending if you have like a fancy pants camera, it might already have a level on it. But you could set a level on it to make sure, even on your phone, to make sure you're staying flat. And then you can rotate that in any direction so that the light looks like it's coming from wherever. I just always have the light coming from the side of mine, because then I can stand, have the light come from the side, and take any sort of angle. And it looks like it's supposed to be, because that's the right, I'm standing facing right side up. Oh my gosh, I have a lot to say about this. So lots of background ideas. How do you edit your photos? I have Lightroom. I use a camera, like an actual camera. I talked about this a few episodes back. I'll try to look up what episode it was and put it like here or something. About exactly what equipment I use. I edit my photos in Lightroom. I shoot in RAW format, which means they're bigger file sizes and can do more adjusting. I will confess that if you see the picture of me standing with the me and the dark background, Lightroom has this new feature where you can adjust the brightness of the background. And so sometimes I will darken them if the contrast isn't enough, or lighten and reduce shadows in a background that is my big background, pointing there, because that's where my living room is, where I take those pictures. That's what I do to edit my pictures. It's all in Lightroom. But you don't have to have Lightroom. We talked then the next episode, which would be the one after the one I just put up here, about how to take pictures just with your phone. And there are plenty of apps that you can take pictures on your phone and then edit them for free. Lightroom even has an app. Okay, how do you keep shadows from your pictures? I don't. I used to try, and it is futile. It's not futile. But here's what I found. And I know I have a pin for this, so I'm going to put it up. I'll put it up right here. In this first picture, you can see that I took a picture of my Tamsin hat in my old setup where I had the backdrop, the window, taking from straight on. And you can see that you cannot see my popcorn stitches. Then I took some pictures where I turned my whole rig sideways so that the light was coming in from the side, and voila, you can see the texture. Everybody's like, oh, shadows are bad. No, shadows aren't bad. Shadows are real life. Shadows happen. Things look fake when you have zero shadows. It's weird. So I think trying to fully eliminate shadows should not be your goal. Being thoughtful about your shadows, like I said, so like, oh, maybe you can see now better. You can't. Okay. So when I'm out here in the light and I turn my face away from the light, my face gets shadowed. And the more light that's coming in, it's quite shadowy. It's quite cloudy here today, so there's not as much light coming in. The higher the contrast would be from the side of my face that's getting light and the side of my face that's not getting light. Whereas when I turn my face towards the light, you can see I still have shadow, I still have texture. My shawl still has texture, but it's less, and it's less harsh, and like it lightens up my face instead of shadows my face. So I don't avoid shadows. I embrace shadows. I think they're good. But let me tell you about my good friend foam core board here. When I don't want shadows as much on the side that I don't have light coming from, I use this guy to just bounce on the floor, to bounce light back. Ah, buggers, I just bent the corner of that. It's fine. And so all that this is you could just get one piece of foam core board, and you can see if I put it under my face, it bounces light up to my face. If I put it on the side of my face, it bounces light onto the side of my face that doesn't have the light on it. Now, I used to use this as a background too, but you can see how beat up it's gotten. And so it's not a pretty background anymore. I just use it for bouncing light now. But I don't have one sheet of this. I have 3. And they're accordioned together just with packing tape. See, they're not even fully stuck there. Like there's a little bit of a space. The reason for that is when you have all your stuffs set up, and I would say even just 2 would be helpful. But when you have all your stuff set up, it's hard to hold your camera, especially when you have a big camera like mine. It's hard to hold your camera and hold these boards. So when it's 3 of them together, you just set it down and it stands up by itself. So that's a way to adjust the shadows, but I wouldn't try to get rid of them. I had a lot to say about that. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I shared a lot of information. I hope you found it really helpful. If you have specific questions about anything I asked, let me know. I'll try to, as I was talking, throw up some pictures of like what I do and where I am. But we could do a video where I do actually turn you around and show you like how do I stand and where do I put stuff and yada, yada, yada. So you let me know if that's interesting to you. All right. So, let's do question number 2. So question number 2 is what if what I really want for Christmas is yarn? Any ideas on how to help my family members get me the yarn that I'll actually use? Okay, so I tend not to ask for a lot of yarn, and as you saw from the gift guide, none of those were yarn, because being gifted yarn is tricky, and I have had people who have tried to gift me yarn, and there has definitely been mixed success. Let me tell you who gifts me the best yarn. My yarn friends. I told you Michelle got me that gorgeous Crochet purple. She knows me. She knows yarn. She was spot on. But like my husband, my mother-in-law, they don't know about yarn. They don't do yarny things. They know me, but they don't know yarn. So I have definitely been gifted yarn that I've been like, thanks. I was going to tell a story, but it's not very nice, so I won't. If you want to know that story, send me a private message and I'll tell you. It's about my mother-in-law. And a time she gave me yarn. Okay. God bless her. She just really wants to be nice. And sometimes she's on the nose and sometimes she's way off the mark. So here are my thoughts on if you really want yarn. There are a few things you can do. You can either, in my opinion, you can either be a control freak or embrace the adventure. So let's talk about if you want to be a control freak, because let's be honest, that's what I am. If you want to be a control freak, I think there are a few ways that you can do that. A, just tell them exactly what you want and send them a link on where to buy it. If this is from a yarn dyer, you need to also tell them, because they don't know about yarn and how this works, you need to say, here's some yarn I want. Go buy it today or it will be gone. I have previously not expressed that to Brian, my husband. And he's like, oh, I went and it's gone. And I'm like, well, yeah, because it's like a week later, man. That's not how yarn works. He didn't know. If you want a video game, which is his thing, you like go whenever you want and buy the video game. It's almost always there. So tell them exactly what you want. Like send the literal listing and tell them you need to buy this today. Even one step further than that, a lot of times, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a big sentimental gift person. I'm not a person who needs to feel like, oh, I feel so seen by this gift you gave me. No, I'm more practical than that. And so there are definitely times where I'm like, I bought myself yarn and you're gonna give it to me for Christmas. And Brian's like, okay. So that you for sure know you're gonna like what you get then. You could, if you want it to be kind of a surprise, you could buy yarn like in the summer, have somebody pack it away, and then give it to you at Christmas. And usually, I mean, I'm guessing if your brain works like mine, after 6 months, you're gonna be shocked at what you bought. But you're gonna love it because you picked it out. So you can either send them exactly what you want, purchase it yourself, or you could, if you have a local yarn shop, go to your local yarn shop, spend some time talking with your local yarn shop owner / employee, and talk to them about what you really want. And say, I'm sending my husband in, I'm sending my partner in, I'm sending my mother in. Can you guide her, him, them to a good gift for me? Usually they're going to be open to that. Especially if your gift giver isn't going to just buy you a skein of yarn, but is going to buy you, you know, a few things. That's good for them. And good for them that you're happy. If you want it to be a little bit of a surprise, but you also want to be a control freak, you could do what my husband and I have done before. And that is, you could give several specific options. So say, I would really like 2 skeins of this yarn, or 3 skeins of this yarn, or 1 skein of this yarn and 1 skein of this yarn, or, see what I mean? Several very specific options. And then the gift giver gets to go through those specific options and say, I want to gift you this one. And so it's still a bit of a surprise as to which one you're going to get. But since you picked all of the options out, you know you're going to like it. Yeah. So that's if you want to be a control freak. The other side of this is that if you are asking for a gift and you want to be surprised, you just have to embrace the adventure. You don't have control over exactly what they purchase. So I would still give some direction because, as you know, the options are so many. And just picking a yarn in a color that you like isn't necessarily even an adventure you can embrace. So I would give some parameters. You can give color parameters. You can say, I really like blues and purples. I really like ocean vibes. I really like neutrals. I really like, you know, again, you can be as specific and say, I want teal yarn that matches the curtains. And then they have to go out and try to find teal yarn that matches your curtains. Or you can say, I like beachy vibes. And whatever beachy vibes means to them, or send an inspiration picture. Say, I like beachy vibes and this is what inspires me. Like, this is what makes me think those beachy vibes. How they interpret that picture, though. So you can specify color. You can specify yarn weight. This one might take a little bit more of a discussion, but talk to them about the fact that yarns come in different weights and specify a yarn weight. I want fingering yarn. I want worsted weight yarn. Here is how you tell if it is that weight, because that's going to be helpful to them. That's going to be stressful if you say, I want worsted weight yarn, and then like they don't know how to figure out if a yarn is worsted weight. So if they're going to a big box store, show them the little skein thing with the number on it, and tell them what number is in there for the size yarn you want, to be helpful. Also, fiber content. If you are allergic to something, have a preference to no wool or no acrylic or no mohair, you want to let them know that, and then they can be guided through that. Or you can just say, get me something fun, get me something unusual, which may be challenging for them if they don't know what unusual is. And also you might end up with eyelash yarn. Remember that, Floofy? It looked like a Muppet. Everything you made out of it looked like a Muppet. A Muppet hat, a Muppet scarf. Looked like you had murdered a Muppet and made something. Okay. So you either are going to have to be real specific or you're going to have to embrace the adventure. And I have absolutely gotten yarn that I did not like. One bit of yarn that I got that was fine, but totally not my colors. I made something out of it and then gifted it to the person who gave me the yarn because it was very clearly their colors. So that's always an option. There's always places to donate. So there you go. All right, I have surely talked for long enough. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found all of this information helpful. If you have a question related to what we talked about today, related to something totally different, related to sparkly earrings, feel free to leave a comment below. Or if you have a question you want me to answer on the podcast, there is a link in the show notes that takes you to a form. All you do is type in your question. It's completely anonymous, but then that helps me stay organized so that I can make sure that I get to all the marvelous questions that you guys have to ask. If you found this helpful and enjoyable, be sure to subscribe so that you will get notifications every time another one of these or any other type of video comes out on my channel. I would love it if you would like the video, if you enjoyed it. It helps it get shared with other people. And hey, if you have a friend who might enjoy this too, or might have questions about the things I answered today, pass it along. Help a friend out. Thank you so much for joining me today, and happy crafting.